Live from Hazard, Kentucky, this is Jammin John's Wrestling News. Here's your news for Tuesday, November 20th, 2018. Former WWE writer Brian Maxwell Mann wrote the following on Twitter regarding the creative state of the company. Why the blame the fans narrative is wrong. If you look at the wrestling industry as a whole, creative has never been better. NXT can't miss, New Japan Pro Wrestling is on fire, Lucha Underground is pushing the boundaries, MLW is making new stars, even Impact is delivering at the moment. Thanks to social media, it has never been easier for a promotion to connect with their audience and get real-time feedback from them. Trends can be spotted more easily and earlier. Ciampa's Twitter game is a major reason he's NXT champ today. WWE has all the makings for another boom period. A fantastic crop of talent and unrivaled infrastructure to deliver their product. However, largely because they are a monopoly and don't feel the effects of their decisions overnight, they fumble a lot of opportunities. WWE could learn a lot from Marvel. For decades, movie studios mistreated Marvel properties because they knew better when it came to mainstream entertainment. Complex worlds were reduced to digestible stories because only nerds cared about all that stuff. Then Marvel started making their own movies. They applied the same tools that created a generation of comic book fans to the big screen and converted even more people into passionate consumers of their brand. Extending this metaphor to WWE, NXT is Marvel while the main roster is the big movie studio. Triple H has created a loyal customer base by scaling a niche product to the masses. Meanwhile, Vince doubled down on the idea that he knows best when it came to the mainstream. The result of this has been the slow bleed of casual fans to other properties or just general disinterest. So WWE is left with a hardcore audience so jaded that they look past 90% of the booking to develop direct connections with the performers because it's more believable. These NXT TakeOver weekends have really exposed Vince's incompetence. 2 shows, same building, same audience, same production. One gets over and one doesn't. Keep that in mind next time someone blames fans these days. Blaming the fans for rejecting a product they do not like is some Russo crap, and you'd hope a publicly traded multinational company would be above that. It appears that Braun Strowman is dealing with a legitimate injury, and the angle on Raw was done last night to write Strowman off television for at least the next few weeks. Dave Meltzer of F4WOnline.com addressed the situation, and here is what he said courtesy of RingsideNews.com. Well, I guess the biggest news is that Braun Strowman is going to have elbow surgery, so the deal tonight was a cover for that. He has bone spurs, and the elbow that they destroyed was the one that he has bone spurs in. It's not a bad deal. Obviously his elbow was not shattered. It's touch and go whether he'll be in San Jose for the match with Baron Corbin, the TLC match they announced. I guess it depends on some seriousness of the surgery. Dave Meltzer continued on by saying, the belief is he's fine for the Royal Rumble with Brock Lesnar, which they also announced surprisingly, that match tonight. So that is the plan. So what's the deal of what's going on with Strowman, why they did what they did? Brian Alvarez of F4WOnline.com recently answered a fan's question regarding Roman Reigns' status for WrestleMania 35. Brian Alvarez said, there's no plans for Roman at WrestleMania, if that's what you mean as far as wrestling at WrestleMania. But as far as is he doing well, you know they're going to keep everything a secret. Regarding Dean Ambrose's controversial reference to Roman Reigns having leukemia on Raw last night, Dave Meltzer of F4WOnline.com explained who would be responsible for that line getting on television. Dave Meltzer said, you can't be blaming the writer because this thing goes into a production meeting and there are 20 people in that production meeting. The head guy is Vince McMahon. So you have all these producers, you have Vince McMahon, you have all these filters to go through. It went through every single filter. Yes, you can say fire the writer, but you have to fire everyone else that it went through. At the end of the day, all these things, every word that's written, all the things like that, the approval has to go through Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon is the one responsible for every line, every angle, or every line. Writers can come up with the stupidest things in the world, and you can fire them, but this thing went through way too many filters to just go fire the writers. And if you missed it last night, Ambrose brought up how the Shield needed to pay for their sins, and Reigns is now having to answer to the man upstairs. Thanks to ringsidenews.com for the quotes. And on the topic of Roman Reigns, the WWE announced the following yesterday. The Staples Center in Los Angeles has made a generous donation of $10,000 in Roman Reigns' name to Children's Health Dallas at the Big Dog's request. The venue, which is hosting the third of 4 consecutive nights of WWE action with tonight's Raw, showed its appreciation for WWE by making the donation to the charity of Reigns' choice. After revealing his battle with leukemia and relinquishing the Universal Championship, Reigns received words of encouragement from patients at Children's Health Dallas, and his choice to have Staples Center donate the money to them was undoubtedly the Big Dog's way of saying thank you. Staples Center President Lee Zeidman presented the check to WWE Chief Brand Officer Stephanie McMahon and WWE COO Triple H before Raw. In addition to Raw, the Staples Center hosted Saturday night's NXT TakeOver War Games 2 and Sunday night's Survivor Series, and will be the site of SmackDown Live. Here is what Dave Meltzer of F4WOnline.com said regarding the short amount of time that Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair had to prepare for their match at Survivor Series. Dave Meltzer said, "Her and Charlotte spent whatever it was, 3 days on that match with Fit Finlay going over everything, and when they came out they really had a hell of a match." Meltzer also commented on when a Charlotte vs. Ronda rematch would take place. Meltzer said, "So Ronda Rousey and Charlotte. From the way the interview went, it looks like they're probably going to do something at the Royal Rumble as well. It looks like they're going to build to that and then the Becky Lynch match at Mania maybe. But that's kind of like the deal, I guess. They could do a freeway at Mania as well, but basically that's what I was told was Nia Jax, Charlotte Flair, and there are still other pay-per-views in between for other potential matches, so that's kind of like the deal there." Thanks to ringsidenews.com for the quotes. Former WCW World Champion David Arquette wrote the following on Twitter regarding the death match that he participated in over the weekend. David Arquette wrote on Twitter, "As some of you might have seen, last week I was injured in a wrestling death match. I wanted to make sure to address the photos and videos that have surfaced from the event, as this is not the type of wrestling you watch on TV. I knew it was violent and potentially bloody, but I truly did not know the extent of what I was participating in. However, I take responsibility for putting myself in that situation. For the last 6 months, I have been training and competing in indie matches around the country, as wrestling is a passion of mine. I want to state again that this is not traditional wrestling, and I have the utmost respect for that sport. I also want to apologize to the professional wrestling world for any negative attention this might have brought forth over the weekend, and I have zero plans to be involved in a match like this again. I want to thank all my fans, friends, and family for their love and support over the last few days. I am looking forward to getting back into the ring under much different circumstances in the near future. However, my priority and full-time dedication will always be to acting and producing, and I look forward to sharing some of my exciting new projects in 2019. With love, David Arquette." Underneath this statement, he wrote, "The main reason I got injured was because of my lack of experience. Don't try this at home." Mike Johnson of PWInsiderElite.com commented on Alexa Bliss's status with WWE and her possibly replacing Baron Corbin as the Raw General Manager. Here is what Johnson said, courtesy of RingsideNews.com. "The impression that I have is that she went through some medical testing while she was in Los Angeles, and that there was no clear-cut indication that she was returning to the ring anytime soon. It doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. That's to the best of my knowledge. It's not a Paige situation where she's been permanently sat out, but it did seem like, okay, in 2 weeks you're going to be good to go, or in 3 weeks you're going to be good to go." Mike Johnson continued on by saying, "It's still very much up in the air. They'll probably still keep testing her. There was some expectation backstage at Raw last night that when they came out of TLC, Alexa Bliss would probably end up the general manager of Raw, which makes sense when you think about it given how they change ideas so quickly. I don't know that definitely 100% to be the plan." Dave Meltzer of F4WOnline.com was asked about Brock Lesnar possibly facing Batista at WrestleMania 35, and here's what Meltzer said. "That is not the plan, so, I mean, it could happen, sure. I don't think that Vince wants to do that with Lesnar. I don't know. I don't think he sees Batista in that way anymore, you know what I mean? There's guys he sees as legends, and obviously whatever it was, Batista was a big star for many, many years. But it just feels like Vince, I don't know. He did bring him back that one time, and he did put him in the main event of WrestleMania against Randy Orton. It was supposed to be the Mania main event, and what a miscalculation that was. But yeah, let's put this away right now. Brock Lesnar and Dave Bautista is not a plan. Thanks to RingsideNews.com for the quotes. And finally, here on Jammin' John's Wrestling News, John Cena is scheduled to make his first WWE appearances since the Super Showdown. Here are the dates Cena is currently advertised for. December 26th, Raw Live event at Madison Square Garden. December 27th, SmackDown Live event at Nassau Coliseum in Long Island, New York. December 28th, SmackDown Live event in Baltimore, Maryland. And December 30th, SmackDown Live event in Tampa, Florida. That is your news for Tuesday, November 20th, 2018. Check back here tomorrow for another Jammin' John's Wrestling News Flash Briefing on Amazon Alexa devices. Big shout out to everybody listening to this on YouTube. Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. Stewie Family is the name. Follow me on Twitter at John Caldwell, JONCOLWELL. Follow me on Instagram, the Jammin' John. If you'd like to sponsor Jammin' John's Wrestling News or your wrestling promotion, wanting to get your next big event out for the awesome power of Amazon Alexa, you can email me, jzcaldwell@gmail.com. That's JZCOLWELL@gmail.com. Big shout out to Ryan Hurdle and Tony Nelson for subscribing to my Patreon. You too can subscribe to me by going to patreon.com/jamminjohn. I have free packages on there ranging from free to $7. Not a whole lot of money. I would really appreciate it if you supported me a little bit financially. Once again, that's patreon.com/jamminjohn. This is Jammin' John saying thanks, goodbye, and I'll see you tomorrow.